Alright guys, in the last tutorial what we did was we pretty much queried the database and we asked it to return a result set of all the days where the stock price went down, and I'm losing my voice. Great timing for that. So let me go ahead, and now the first thing we want to do is loop through each of these results row by row. So the easiest way in my mind to do that is just make a variable called row and set this equal to my SQL underscore fetch, forgot how to type, array. Now, as a parameter for this, you just pass it in the result set. And what this is going to do is it's going to return an associative array. Now remember, associative array is basically an array that uses words instead of numbers to represent the data in it. So this is basically going to loop through your result set, and it's going to give you an associative array on each different loop. So the first time it's going to give you an array based on the first row, the second time the second row, third time third row, so on and so forth. So basically the row is the associative array. So let's go ahead and start pulling data from each row. Now remember, what we did is we selected the date and the percent change basically from the result set. So that's what we have to work with right now. So let's go ahead and make a variable called date. And in order, like I said, to grab information from an associative array, you type in the name of the array, which is in this case row, and you type in the piece of data. Now, it returns to you an array, and its key is the name of the column. So the name of my column in the table is date. So there you go. Now we have that row's date stored in the variable date. So whatever date it went down, it's now stored in the variable date. Easy enough. And let's do the same thing with percent change, because remember, those were the two pieces of data that we queried from the database. And I'm actually just going to go ahead and cheat a lot here. Percent change, percent change. So now the date and the percent change we have stored in variables that we can more easily work with. Now remember, I said this I think in the last tutorial. These are the dates that the stock price went down. But what we are more interested in is the following day. So we aren't interested in this date, we're interested in the day after. So what we want to do is we want to make another query to basically select the information for the next day. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and use our old friend SQL2. Remember, I don't like to name my variables the same thing, so I'm just going to go ahead and name this SQL2, and it's pretty much going to be a query just like before, just a simple string. So what this is going to do is it's going to select, this is going to look very familiar, select date and percent change from, probably just could have copied that whole thing, from company ticker, because remember, we're in the same loop. We're not, the company ticker is going to remain the same one. So if this was Yahoo up here, then this is still going to be Yahoo down there. So what we're doing is we're selecting the date and the percent change from the company we're working with, where date is greater than date. And I actually want to move this so it's a little bit cleaner. And I'll show you guys what I'm doing in just a second. And I want to order by date, ASC, in a limit of 1. Now you're saying, okay, what the heck is this query, and why the heck are you doing a where in an order by clause? Well, first of all, I want to say this. Remember, we have a date. Now, these are the dates where the stock dropped in price, and our goal is to get the next, or excuse me, the following day's data. So we want to get the date and percentage change from the following day. So why did I do where great is greater than date? Well, the date right here is the current day. So if the date is greater than this, then it would mean where date is after. So basically, if today, if I did this today, in other words, if this variable meant today, if date was greater than today, then it would be basically all the future. So if I order by date, then it's going to set it up in the order that we want, and the limit 1 is only going to give me 1 day. So basically, the next day, that's what we do whenever we say limit 1, after this date right here. Make sense? Easy enough. That's the best I can explain it anyways. So now what we want to do after that is just go ahead and run this query, and we do that by just hitting this. And I'm just going to go ahead and move things around so you guys can see a little bit better. Result equals, and I actually want to change that to 2. Result 2 equals MySQL2. And what could I do after this? Okay, I might as well do this. So basically what we did is we basically limited this to 1. And this would mean I don't want all the dates after the date. I only want the next day. I only want the following day. So what we want to do was we want to ensure that it only returned one result. Now there are going to be instances where it returns 0. For example, remember, if we look at the last month of data, then all of those days are going to have following days. But what if the stock price went down today? Well, tomorrow we don't know what it's going to be yet, so we don't have that information. So even though this query in this program might be running properly, it may return to you no result set because tomorrow doesn't exist yet. So what we want to do is we want to check how many rows that it will return. So hopefully we get 1, but we may get 0 if tomorrow didn't exist yet. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make a variable called number of rows. And in order to count the number of rows in your result set, you use a function called mysql num rows, and as a parameter you just pass in your result set, which is result2, and this is either going to return 1 or 0. And we'll go ahead and we'll make another clause, like if it returns 5 or something, we'll just say we have an error. So let me just go ahead and make sure you're okay. I'm probably not going to have time to do this in this tutorial, but in the next tutorial what we're going to be doing is we're going to be working inside this, and we're going to check, okay, if you return 1 row, that means that we do have data that we can work with. If you return 0 rows, then don't do anything because that means you're on the current day and there's no data for tomorrow yet. And we'll make another else clause that say, okay, if you return anything else but 1 and 0, then something went wrong, and we'll just put an error to the user or something. So that's what we have to look forward to. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.